If you're interested in building and designing your own furniture, well, I got some great tips for you. Coming up right now on this episode of... I want to thank the good folks over there at Woodcraft for sponsoring this episode. Woodcraft has the right tools with the right people to give you the right advice. Woodcraft's goal is helping you make wood work. So many of you who watch me on a regular basis know my background, but if you're tuning in for the first time, I'm going to share it with you. For over 20 years, I've been in the building trades and I make my living as a full-time professional furniture maker. Now, over those years, I've been able to share some of my knowledge of furniture as well as designing pieces with magazines such as American Woodworker and Popular Woodworking. And a couple years ago with F&W Media, I actually even wrote a book that had over 20 different furniture projects designed especially for the beginner. But being a professional furniture maker is more than just working out of plans from books and magazines. You have to actually know how to design your own. That's why I've come up with the 6 rules for better furniture design. And I'll share more about that with you later in the video. But for now, I want to share a couple of simple tips with you, and I think will get you going in the right direction. In a recent video I shared with you on selling your furniture, I mentioned the use of building scale models. Now, one of the biggest advantages for me in this is it helps me work out the designing process. Now, before I go from this to building this, I do have a couple of steps in between. But before I share that with you, let me back up a little bit and explain the designing process and how this table actually came to be. So whenever a potential client calls me for a custom furniture piece, I always like to go out to their house. I like to see what the size of the house is like. I like to see the layout of the house. I look at the other furniture that they have in their home. I look at art that's up on the wall, the colors of the wall, the colors of the floor, the type of floor. I like to look at a lot of things. The other thing that's really important too when you're at the home is pay attention to the common use areas, like the most common walkways through the place. Are there doors that are going to be in the way, like the openings? How about the swing of a door? Next, what I like to do is see where the actual space is that they want the piece. Now for this table, you can see from this photo that it's going into a room just off of the kitchen. It also leads outside to the backyard. So there's going to be a lot of people walking through that area. Also too, you'll note that the window bench, well, it goes off on a 45 degree. Now this is really important because if the table was left as a rectangle, that corner would catch you as you're trying to slide into the bench. Now maybe a round or an elliptical shaped table might be better, but I just didn't think it fit the room. There was nothing in there that had any kind of curves or round shapes to it. Now another thing I did was I noticed right around the corner in the kitchen, they had these really cool barn doors that hung over their pantry. So that started to give me an idea. I purchased these legs from over there at KenCraft. They have a really cool kind of rustic industrial look. I thought if I painted these black, they'd be perfect to go with the track on those barn doors. Also too, they had some bar stools that the fabric on it was like a dark brown. So I started thinking a walnut top might be really cool for this. Lastly, they told me they like the look of things with live edge on it. And although I don't care for live edge because I think people will pick at the bark and it's not a good thing for, especially if you're eating at food and crumbs can get stuck in it, I thought I could simulate that look for them. So you'll notice not only does the top have like that live edge look, but it also allowed me to accommodate for that 45 degree angle, making it easier for people to get in and sit at the table. Now another thing that really helps is building a mock-up table. And I like to do this a lot for my customers. I build it just out of some scrap lumber that I have laying around, but I make it to the actual size and dimensions of what the finished piece will be. The purpose of this is to actually put it in the space where it's going to live. I'll usually leave this with the customer for a few days or more. I ask them to walk around it, to look at it, to maybe sit and use it. And from there, we can tweak and make some changes. For example, maybe they want the legs on this to be in a little bit more because they think they're going to have a chair there. And then again, maybe not. Maybe they're primarily going to sit on the bench, and so they might want the legs out farther so they have more leg room. It all depends on the customer's needs. Now in this case, after the customer used this for about 4 days, they came to the conclusion that they wanted it an inch longer on the ends and an inch wider. So that was the change that I made to the final piece. Another advantage to building a full-size mock-up is it helps me work out some of the details for myself. Now this table that I actually built for a Woodcraft series, the mock-up allowed me to work out some issues with the detail around the drawer. Did I want the splat or not? And even helped me with the placement and size of the wedge tusk tenon. Truly, having a full-size mock-up helped me visually see and work out all those details. Now, I don't always build a full-size mock-up. If I'm doing my designs on the computer or paper and I'm really liking the way it looks, I can usually just work from that. However, on this particular build here, I really liked how it was looking, but then when I started putting it together, I wasn't sure I liked how the top rail was coming out. Sometimes there is something lost visually from your drawings to the actual build. So what I did was I made some mock components. Take a look at this. So you can see that I just took some 1/4-inch plywood and I cut out the shape to size for the rail. And you can see the evolution process of it coming about. I just simply placed them in place, taped them there, and stood back and took a look. Ultimately, in the end, my eye really liked this one. This is the pattern that I used for the final table. Now, I know some of you are probably thinking, Chad, I gotta build like cabinets all across this wall, or I gotta build some big bookcases. I'm not gonna bother to make a mock-up for that. And I would agree with you on that. In fact, I've even had customers call me out for bigger pieces that they wanted, and they've already put like some tape down on the floor or some on the wall. And that's a great thing to do. It definitely helps, but they're still only looking at this in a 2-dimensional form. You really need that 3rd dimension of depth. Many times the customer, what they think they see from that tape, in actuality, it's too big. So what I'll do is I'll take some cardboard boxes and just tape or glue them together and place them in that area that they had designated taped out. And many times they'll find that it's too big. You don't want the piece to totally engulf the whole room. So I give my suggestions on what I think the proper size and dimensions would be. It always works. It's definitely worth the time to take that extra step to do those cardboard boxes. Well, I hope some of those suggestions help you with your next design and build. Now, at the beginning of this video, I mentioned that I've come out with 6 rules for better furniture design. And if you go to my website or click on the link in the description below, there's a free downloadable PDF for you that gives you a condensed summary of what those 6 rules are. Now, you can use these 6 rules to refer to when you're designing your furniture pieces. However, if you would like more insight and more breakdown of each one of those rules with descriptions and examples, I have an easy-to-read 15-page ebook that you can get. I definitely think the 6 rules will help you with future builds that you want to design for yourself or potentially to sell to others. Of course, if you have any questions, feel free to email me at woodchoppingtime@gmail.com, because after all, my whole goal is to make you a better woodworker. If you like what you saw today, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and until then, well, keep on dancing.